All right, guys, a little bit different video today, but it's an important one. So, you guys actually over there working on checking this vehicle in. This is a newer International, a 21, 22, 23, Cummins powered, extended cab, Century bed, rollback. He's in the process of raising it up. We got over here a little bit too late. He kind of already started his process. Hopefully that noise isn't too much. But you can see this truck's dirty, hadn't been polished yet. Next step's getting into the polish. This was a locally owned truck. I say local, it was Carolina, so not across the country. It was sold locally by one of our vendors, and it was a lease vehicle. So it's just under 100,000 miles when it came in. Getting the windshield replaced. Got a crack in it. He's already gone around it. He's photographed all the tires. He's walked around the vehicle. He's checked underneath of it. Now he's going to put it up in there, and he's actually going to service it. When we service one of these vehicles, unless the filter is brand new on the hydraulics, we do change the hydraulic filter. We change the oil and the oil filter using all proper spec filters and fluids. He shakes down the stuff for inspection, so Virginia is an inspection state. As a dealer, you're obligated to check those things. Steering, brakes, suspension, lights, horn, basically all the things that most states have as an inspection, but Virginia is pretty picky. While we're in the air on one of these trucks, the big trucks don't have a problem, but the small trucks do, where the frames actually crack in this area right here because they have so much extra weight, so it actually will crack. No recall, no nothing, but things like that do happen. We can also see under the truck in this case, making sure it's not rusty, making sure it's not anything crazy, making sure it hadn't had any hidden damage. You can see that everything's okay. We also can check under the bed. Same deal here. This area right here is the most prone for rust. These are metal supports. Rocks hit them, they knock the paint off, then they rust over time. You also look at some beds where they're all dippy. It's because these things have rusted out in a lot of cases. He checks the U-joints. He checks all the brake system, checks the hydraulics for leaks. As you can see on this one, it's dusty and dirty underneath, but it's not leaking. It does get greased. So we hit all the grease fittings on all the U-joints, which are greasable on these big trucks. We also hit a numerous amount of fittings on the bed area. And then one common area for things to get loose, this right here catches the bed, and these bolts will come loose and break off sometimes. And we do have that come in and have problems with that. So those bolts get tightened, snugged up, sometimes even replaced. We had one recently that had that actually shifted out of place, and we actually had to replace the whole cross member. So another thing that's kind of important because that's what holds the vehicle down on the bed. The wheel lift gets operated. Also back here, there's quite a few grease fittings. Thankfully, this rack's big enough to get these trucks in the air. Check the airbags, make sure there's no issues with them. Check the shocks. Check the valve body here, which is where all the hydraulic system comes together, making sure there's no weird leaks. We grease the fittings in this area with just spray lubricant because they will get tight sometimes. Also make sure these aren't bent, making sure they're working on both sides. Back here on the wheel lift, again, multiple other grease fittings. That gets greased, that gets operated. We have had those before where they were bent and need to be replaced. Make sure the mud flaps are intact. And a lot of times there's actually two people checking these trucks. You'll see them now, checking with the flashlight. You're gonna have seepages, some of them even have some drips, but we're looking for fluids that are gushing out, major problems. If it does have a leak, we want it noted. Yeah, and he just said this one's very dry. And again, even on the rack, you gotta get on there with a flashlight. Also, this truck has double tanks. These tanks are notorious for rusting out. Not fuel tanks, air tanks. And we will drain these while it's in so that we get all the moisture and water out. But two tanks, they do rust. These hoses do leak, so we check to make sure all that's okay. Make sure the battery tray is secure and proper and in place. What other things, TJ?
Brakes, airbags, shocks,
springs, checking the springs, checking the U-joints, as you can see.
Shaft carriers.
Yep. It's very unusual. People don't realize you can grease things on these bigger trucks because...
Brake chambers, grease.
Not sure if y'all can hear with the mic on, but he's saying checking the brake chambers and the all the fittings in the back, grease the slides on those. The bed comes all the way back, and they actually smear grease on the rails because there's no grease fitting on the rails. But to make this channel slide, it slides in another channel. So it gets slid back. A big smear of grease gets put on everything so that it slides right, keeps the friction down, also makes it not grind and squeal and make a lot of noise. And all the lights get checked. There's a lot of lights on these trucks. Here, 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 front, back, all the sides. There's a ton of lights, so all that gets checked. Before they even get to this stage, the VIN number on the bed and the VIN number on the truck get logged into the computer. That way, if there's ever a future problem, like the truck gets damaged and you got to order a part, we have that on file. We have the bed number and we have the truck number on file. While under the hood, checking out all the fluids, the reservoirs, even down to the washer fluid, power steering fluid. If something looks too dark or too dirty, it gets replaced or serviced.
Fuel filters looks new.
Okay.
Transmission filter looks new.
Okay.
Transmission gasket looks new.
Yep, so that's what I mentioned. I said if the filters like that are new, their only requirement on replacement sometimes is 50,000, sometimes 100,000 mile intervals. So we can usually look at the filter and see that it's pretty clean. If it's dirty, old, rusty, anything like that, it's changed. You know, we don't know the particular history. We know it's supposed to have been serviced well, but they may not have ever serviced one of those filters. We can tell that it's not factory. We can tell it's been changed. Now, oil filter always gets changed. Fuel filter usually always gets changed. But sometimes, again, they've just been done and you can tell that. So it's not on every single one, so we can't claim that. This one, he said, obviously everything looks great. AC works because we just drove it up here. We run them around a loop just to make sure everything shifts, runs, drives right. We do that prior to obviously even getting to this stage of things, making sure the transmission shifts properly, make sure the horn blows. And again, this one you're looking at it pretty raw because it has not been detailed, it has not been polished, it has not had the windshield replaced yet. TJ just saw, don't forget, Mike is coming to do the windshield probably tomorrow. So that'll be done. But that's a little walkthrough on an International MV truck. Again, we sell all different shapes, sizes, and styles of these. There's a wrecker sitting right here that just got a windshield put in it. That has a light issue, so they're going over that, getting the light issue fixed. It has extra LEDs. This is a truck we sold in the past. That truck stayed local. Now it's been traded back in on another vehicle, and it's up for sale again. So that one is on the website. That's a great looking Power Stroke truck. F450, I guess you'd call it a snatch recovery. It's got dollies, it's got go jacks, auto grip on the back, XLT, so nice luxury interior. Same deal though, it just got oil changed, filters done, service is done, windshield done, and next step is that. So stereo's playing a little loud. How are we looking on time? Okay, cool. All right, well, we'll cut it at that. It's good enough. They'll carry it away from here. Also checking the air filter, usually the cabin filter too. So it's a pretty thorough process. It's not just a lick them, stick them, slap them, and go. We're not just going down a Jiffy Lube. A lot of extra time's put in going over these trucks. Again, everybody's human, but when you got two people, oh, he's got one more thing he's going to show us.
Brake measurement on it. Actually, it's pretty good. No air gap. That's pretty good.
Cool. So he just got his little gauge out. Drum brakes, of course. So he's checking that with the thickness. What does green mean good? Yellow means...
Quarter-inch failed state inspection. This one is double the core, so it's about half an inch.
Cool. When they get borderline, we usually replace or either make a note. We had one going out of here on Friday of last week, and the pads were not available for that particular truck. They passed inspection, but they weren't quite at half. They were a little below half, probably above a quarter, so they're still fine. But we actually got the pads at the last second. We even gave them to the customer. Said, hey, when you're in for service and you need to put them on, stick them on. We didn't have time to do it. They were on a tight deadline. They had to get back across the country. So again, it was safe and it was fine, but we still provided them so they would have the right ones when they went to do it. So again, thanks guys. A little explanation of how things go when we service a truck.